sister of the Pleiades, walks in beauty like the night, oh, that is best, dark and now lost to me. Only trust in the northern star. That's the only point that's fixed. I once believed in love. Even love cannot bridge this rift. Where is my lucky star tonight?
You can advertise your business on Night Dreams Talk Radio, and you will be heard worldwide. Why not contact us at nightdreamstalkradio@gmail.com.
If you would like to hear Night Dreams Talk Radio on your local radio station, let them know. Tell them to check out www.nightdreamstalkradio.com, and thank you.
Good evening or morning, depending on your time zone. From the Pacific to the Atlantic to you worldwide. Get yourself a cup of java and find a comfy, easy chair. And get ready for Gary and his guest on Night Dreams Talk Radio After Dark. And now, here's Gary.
And here I am. And, well, our guest tonight is Mark Sargent. We're talking about Flat Earth. Mark, you still with us?
I am still with you.
Well, I mean, do you have a website on Flat Earth or what you're trying to project out here?
Yeah. The easiest way to find my stuff, I mean, where the bulk of it is just on YouTube. But just type in my name, Mark Sargent, or Flat Earth Mark. Probably the easiest way to get to my things. And then from there, there's a whole bunch of playlists and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of videos.
Interesting. What kind of makes me feel like maybe we're not even physically real.
Well, again, the whole digital thought, not to delve into too much, but if your listeners want to look up some interesting theories, look up the oldie but goodie, the double slit experiment, which they perfected back in, I think, about 2004, maybe 2006, with a single electron gun, which basically answered the age-old question: if a tree falls in the forest and there's no one there to hear it, does it make a sound? Now, it was something I remember, a teacher asking me when I was in grade school. Well, now we know the answer to it. It's like, no, it doesn't make a sound because it probably isn't even there yet. It's not drawn. And that's what the double slit experiment says, is that, the world isn't built until a human being is in the vicinity, which I think is very, very interesting. Or if you want to look up something even weirder, something maybe even you haven't heard about, look up something called neuroscience and free will. That's a fascinating take. That's where scientists hooked up electrodes to, people's heads and had them, start hitting numbers on computers. And they had to make a choice, like choose a number between 1 and 10. And what they realized was the computer was anticipating the brainwaves. Now, it couldn't tell you exactly what number you were going to choose, but it could tell you when you were going to choose a number 8 seconds before you chose it, which goes into a whole other thing, which is, not only are you possibly not even living in a virtual reality, you could be living in a virtual movie, like a virtual book that all the moves have already been pre-made for you. And that free will, which is why the name of the experiment is what it is, that everything, you set up everything before you even walked in here. So yeah, it gets pretty weird, pretty wild.
Well, how about when we look outside on a nice, clear night, we can see the moon?
Well, when you go to a planetarium, and I know that dates me, I don't know where the nearest planetarium is to you, and if people don't know what a planetarium is, it's basically like a small domed stadium where you take the seats and you make them go prone, and you look up and they basically project the stars and the moon on the ceiling. Well, if there's a moon inside that building, who's to say when you walk out of that building you're just not in a much bigger planetarium? And that's what we're saying here. The stars and the sun and the moon are all just part of the giant display system which is up there, which is basically a very, very advanced universal clock that predates every other clock.
Wow. It makes me wonder, if we're nothing more than an experiment of some kid alien on, in their dormitory or in their bedroom, and where they're little, like
an ant
nest.
farm potentially. Yeah, I've given that a lot of thought, and you could go a couple different ways with that, and that is, if you think in the bigger universe, like what could be outside of this world, this building, are we a box of kittens that are, trying to be, that are being protected from what's outside? Or are we a box of scorpions that should never, ever be let out for any reason whatsoever? Sci-fi movies have talked about that for years, going all the way back to the early ones from the 50s, the original The Day the Earth Stood Still, which basically, the other civilizations came in and said, yeah, you guys aren't going anywhere. We're not going to. You guys are just far too brutal. We've got our good and bad sides. We do seem to enjoy war, though.
Oh, we love war, don't we? Well,
Yeah.
maybe something happened. An alien race rescued a lot of the population, and put us in a great big, like a zoo. And,
Sure.
And we're living thinking that we're still, everything's the same. Because the technology has advanced so fast, abnormally fast, that...
Yeah, well, in the last 20, 30 years, our technology has taken exponential leaps. And I think you may be onto something, and I talked about it in the book, which is, it seems that, for me, I think every civilization thrives on novelty. What's new? That's what we ask everybody, what's new, what's going on? And we haven't created anything new in the arts and entertainment world for a very, very long time. I mean, I challenge anybody, go back to movies. The best year in movies ever was 1999. And it's never gotten any better since then. And music was peaked out way before then. And I think every civilization has a limited run. Because, as you've probably done shows on this over the years, there are remnants of previous civilizations. I don't think we're the first people to rent this apartment by a long shot. The sunken cities off of Japan, the sunken cities off of India, the Bosnian pyramids, the real pyramids, Bimini Road, Puma Punku, and so on and so on. I mean, there's so many remnants of what seem to be advanced civilizations with technology equal to or greater than our own. And yet they're gone. So it feels to me kind of like a school where you get to do things, and because it can only be one of three things here. We're talking. It can either be confinement, like a prison. It could be entertainment, or it could be some sort of school system. Well, if it's entertainment, there's a whole bunch of people that still aren't having a lot of fun. They're not being entertained. If it's a prison, it's a pretty nice prison. I mean, there's some beautiful places around this world. It's very, very comfortable. But it feels more like school. I think we're here to learn something. And then at the end of that duration, I think we have to move on and let some other class come in. Kind of like the seniors in high school. You don't have to go home, but you got to get the hell out of here.
No, yeah, kind of, I really feel that we've been rebooted 2 or 3 times. Because, you look at like I mentioned last night on the show, the Sphinx. They already, for years, scientists said, the wear marks on the back of the Sphinx was caused by, sand blowing against it. Then here recently, in the last couple of years, they revised it and said, no, the Sphinx was under the ocean. And that is wear marks from the water movement and all this stuff. Well, if that's the case, that predates it definitely before, me and you or any of our ancestors were walking on this planet.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And the Sphinx is brilliant. I've gotten a chance to see the Sphinx up close, and you look at it, and there's no doubt in my mind. There was a movie, I think it was called 10,000 BC. It was done some years ago, where when they went by the pyramids, it was a lion, and they were talking about previous civilizations. There's no doubt that thing was a lion, and that the pharaohs, when they came upon it, it's like, you know what? Let's put my head on there. Carve down the lion, because the pharaoh's body, or the pharaoh's head, is too small for the body. And who's going to know? I mean, we write the history. Most people couldn't even read and write anyway. So we can dictate, through the records what's going on. And, of course, the pyramids themselves, which are, oh, my God, talk about an enigma. I mean, you go there and you stare at them, and you realize there isn't a single diagram, not a single hieroglyph that talks about how they were built. Hence the mystery, who built the pyramids and how they do it. And it's like, no, it was there. It was a previous civilization that the pharaohs just inherited, claimed as their own, and says, oh yeah, we'll make a tomb out of it. But what it was before that, well, it could be anybody's guess.
Well, I can honestly tell you this. Yeah, I think that they were there before us, because definitely at that time frame, they didn't have the technology. There's a company called Flow International in Kent. They're the ones that invented back, I would say 30 years ago, how to cut water, cut stone, cement,
with water.
And, with high pressure, very accurate, but not anywhere as accurate as those stones are in the pyramid. And so that tells you, even with our technology, we can't even duplicate anything during the pyramids. Now, the Sphinx, they figured the head is small because at one point, somebody changed the head on it, did some recarving on it.
Oh yeah, no question. And science is so. Again, we're talking right now on technology that was built on the backs of science. I don't hate science. I'm not an anti-science guy, but science has a certain arrogance to them, and they make leaps of faith that they shouldn't. It's science. They're supposed to stick to what they know, and they should be able to put question marks on things, which is why in the original clues, I tell people, I try to give people little tidbits of information they may not have known. It's like, well, we've all seen the cross sections of the Earth, right? Those wonderful cutaway drawings with the red and the orange and the yellow and the white bands, that white center. It's like, yeah, wow, well, where do you think they got that illustration from? And people just stop dead in their tracks. Like, I don't know. It's like, do you know what the deepest hole ever drilled is? It's not 4,000 miles to the center of the Earth. It's not 1,000. It's not even 100. It's not even 10. It's 8 miles. That's it. 8 miles, deepest hole ever drilled. Russians tried it. The Germans tried it. They tried to get deeper. Couldn't get any deeper. So what exactly is that cross-section there? The textbooks, the things we see when we're in school, there should be the Earth cutaway drawing with a big question mark in the center. But science doesn't like doing that. They say, well, we've got the lab coats, we can make the decisions, and we'll just tell people. No, in the fine print, you can look it up in Wikipedia. They have no idea what's down there. But it's like, well, but the thing is, if you don't tell them that, if you don't show them the fine print, people believe what they see. They see the illustration. It's like, oh, yeah, that's what it looks like. It's like, no, they have no idea. And if they don't know any idea of this, how are you showing me cross-sections of all the other planets? If you haven't even been there. Sorry, I get worked up.
Well, how about when I go out in the past, when I was younger, with my kids, with a telescope, and we were looking at Venus, we were looking at Mars, we were looking at different planets. Yeah. What were we
what
actually
are you
looking at? Yeah.
Just pretty lights. I mean, I had a guy, I got into a heated debate with an astronomer from England. He said, same sort of line that you said. It's like, look, I've seen the moons of Jupiter, with my telescope. And I'm going, great. I go to a planetarium, take your binoculars. I go, take a look at Jupiter. Does it look spherical? Yeah, it does. Can you land on it? Well, no. I go, why not? Well, because it's just a light on a ceiling. And I go, that's my point. I go, it's just a light on the ceiling. Who told you that the lights in the sky were planets? Well, most of it was branches of the military. And I don't blame them. They let science, and don't get me wrong, most scientists and astronomers aren't in on this. They're based on other foundations, and they didn't check, and they have no way of checking. which is why, when you see all the science, especially the astrophysicists going off on black holes and quasars and gamma radiation and dark matter, it's like they have no idea. They're absolutely, and the more popular scientists will tell you, it's like they have no idea what's going on out there. So yeah, when it comes to, short answer, Mars, Jupiter, Venus, just lights in the sky, lights on a ceiling, as a matter